It doesn't matter that it has anime bedroom eyes or 60 pounds of padded jiggly fursuit arse cheeks or has 50,000 subscribers. Hate still hurts. Hi friends, and enemies, probably. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, it's been a while, but I've got another fandom discourse video for you. I'm sure you're all very excited. I'd like to say things have been less colourful lately, but they really haven't been. I just honestly haven't felt I can add anything more to what I've already said in my previous videos. It's just been more of the same, sadly, but with different names, and sometimes some of the same ones as well. So coming out of this general sense of fatigue, it put me in mind of the ever-pervasive comments that arise whenever some controversy is unearthed, like an ancient alien in some cheap sci-fi movie prologue, is, "This is why I left the fandom." I had someone comment on a post I made that this is why I left, to get away from furries like this and furries like you, meaning me, inferring that I was part of the problem. So that felt awesome, as you can imagine. But even when it's not directed at you by some edgy malcontent, "I no longer associate with you" is a very final statement that either the problem or the spiral of discussion around the problem broke someone's passion. I mean, actually staying in the fandom is completely a choice anyway. Sometimes you just grow out of things or move in a new direction, and that's totally okay. But for people still connected to fandom circles or hitting a brick wall against whatever element of the fandom you're having problems with, it can be a real punch down on an already flagging self-esteem. You start to get these insidious thoughts like, well, I couldn't convince them that it was a good place to be, or, yeah, I don't blame you. Both of these can lead to feeling defeated, dejected, and ultimately considering the same thing. It's similar to, but less accusational than, pointed remarks like, well, you should just leave if you hate it so much. And that's missing the whole point about why it's important to keep improving. Saying that is ironically double defeatist. It's admitting that you don't want to solve the problem, but wants you to stop complaining about it or get out, so nothing ever changes. And the thing is, it is exhausting to constantly go through this cycle of pain and abuse and frustration and revelations. And people only have so much patience and energy. Constantly feeling like you're on a precipice of things we know we could do better, or that parts of the fandom are actively hiding, induces huge feelings of anxiety and anger and sadness. It's not enough to just pretend these problems don't exist, because often the alert furries are the ones who are being damaged by them. Whether it's racial issues or LGBT erasure, ableism, protecting abusers, all of these things create victims and real, tangible pain. Anyone with a good conscience shouldn't be ignoring that. But it is overwhelming when it feels like you're among a minority, or only a few who are actually able to speak up for not wanting to lose their social network, standing against a tide of apathy. Trying to motivate people to take action beyond a like or a retweet is really damn hard. Because while they do spread awareness, by themselves a share isn't just not much. I mean, they can be in agreement over your specific situation and a kind of a casual show of solidarity, but it may not move past that. This is the kind of stuff that always gets derided as armchair activism, the kind of, oh, I'm aware of this now, I've done my part. And, you know, for some people there is only so much that they can do, and, you know, that may be all that they have energy for. It may be all that they have the ability for, and, you know, it can feel very frustrating to have all these issues come up and know that this is all you can do. But for people who do have the ability to do more, to like sever these parasocial connections that are very damaging, or to, you know, who actually have some kind of tangible influence to even say something or speak up, it does make a difference. Sharing is the absolute first step to raising awareness of a problem, but it has to go past that if we're going to have meaningful change. Or when it doesn't, or at least when there's no sign that it may have done, because the same discourse and same contentious figures keep popping up every few weeks regardless of what revelations happen, it gets really hard to see the worth in continuing. I can't blame people who have been through so much already, tried to do good despite it, and have had it thrown back in their face by people who insist their problems either don't exist or are less crucial than the well-being of a single abusive furry superstar. I've seen friends abandon persona species over widespread issues within them and dissociate from the fandom at large despite having a love of the characters for the constant cycle of awful behaviour and the Sisyphean struggle it is to make progress. I've been close to throwing in the towel over certain things too, and there are certain, elements of discourse that I just don't go near because, especially right now, my energy is spread so thin that I can't front the extra emotional labour to work on more than what needs my immediate attention. And I'm nowhere near as vulnerable or outspoken as some. So this socially grifting, punching down to defend shitty popular furries privilege hits doubly hard on people who suffer from systemic or social issues directly. BIPOC furs can't escape racism when you rush to defend racist furries. Trans furries keep receding away from you when you keep sharing popular furs who make disdainful jokes about pronouns or pride flags or maliciously misgender them. Abuse victims lose faith in a community that gives more precedence to bullies and rapists over safety and awareness advocates. And do not even get me started on people who are okay with zoophiles, especially popular ones. And you know exactly who the hell they are. So why then? Why am I or anyone with such a hatred for a clearly broken fandom still here? I could sum this up more succinctly by just sitting here in silence while playing Graves by Churches, but I don't want to get a copyright strike or take away from views from their own channels, so I recommend you go and find it. It's an awesome song anyway. It's one of my favourites. The thing is, to me, even though I know there are a lot of issues that furry doesn't handle well, that many people are still protecting toxic personalities, it's still one of the best and most comforting spaces I've ever known, and one of the most progressive in spite of all these problems. Like it or not, we've done far more to push the boundaries of awareness and activism than pretty much any group outside of a legitimate political or social movement. Because so many of us are from diverse, marginalized backgrounds, there is a huge concentration of us who need to be heard to exist anywhere, let alone inside the furry fandom as well. Furry is meant to be an escape. It's where some of us are able to express our innermost selves and come to terms with our identities and find refuge from a world outside. That doesn't mean living in ignorance. It is astonishingly, painfully hypocritical to say no politics in the fandom and then allow people to waltz around spouting actual hate. What you mean when you say this is, don't inconvenience my lack of responsibility. And it shows that you care more about you being a furry than others being persecuted for who they are. No marginalized group can realistically, it doesn't matter that it has anime bedroom eyes or 60 pounds of padded jiggly fursuit arse cheeks or has 50,000 subscribers, hate still hurts. And you, asking people to just not talk about this now, are blissfully making it another place that abusive bullshit goes unchecked. Making it another place that marginalized people feel unwelcome, making it another place they have to escape from for the same reasons they needed an escape in the first place. If you want furry spaces to just be about fluffy stuff, then it is your oath as a purist furry to get rid of these elements that make it unsafe for people to be there. If you love it, fight for it. If you've seen The End of Gravity Falls, you should know what this means. Living in a fantasy not only keeps the awful things in the world going, but also blinds you to the good that can be done to stop it. That people are more valuable and brought together when they can help each other. If you leave someone behind who needs you, of course they'll resent you for it. So getting angry at them for something you're not doing is pointless. It's on you. And that's why I'm here. The ugly truth is I could afford not to care, ultimately. I could be one of those privileged white queer furries who focuses solely on how many times I can get my luxurious cheeks spread around social media and doing success by numbers every day, spouting superficial, look at me, I'm a gay fox eating candy content over YouTube. But I came here because it was where I wanted to be and where I needed to be. I grew up anxious, lonely, bullied, dreaming about things that I had nobody to really share with. Then eventually, I found furries. And I wanted to be one so badly, but I felt like I had nothing to offer for the longest time. I didn't see how anyone who liked what I did could be anything other than like me, so we had to have so much in common, right? When I finally got to be here in the space, I met so many wonderful people. People who had been through similar things to me or led completely different lives, but all of whom were so inspirational in their strength and identity. I felt at home. This was the place I knew I could finally live up to my creative and emotional ambitions. It was just a case of actually trying, instead of meeting derision and discouragement for people who just didn't understand, or worse, actively tried to stop me from taking part in it. So finding out there were people here still trying to hurt those who I cared for, who gave me a place to be myself, was unacceptable. I cannot sit by while ignorant and malicious freebooters candidly destroy the safety and passions of those I waited years to be part of. Anyone who understands what it is like, even for a second, to be hurt and have no place to turn, should be doing the same to protect anyone they can around them. I love my friends. I want them to be safe. I want them to be happy. I want them to have all of their dreams fulfilled and live long, incredible lives. We cannot claim the fandom is all about love when we still have missing stairs running around hurting whoever they please, or accept hatred as just an opinion. I am still here because I love this fandom. It is one of the best things to have ever happened to me. But we have work to do. For every voice that fails to act, the rest of us have to step in. And yes, we get angrier and angrier because for some inexplicable reason there are still those willing to make excuses for rape and racism and transphobia, homophobia and more repeatedly just because they're afraid of losing content. I know that my audience right now is pretty small and probably already doesn't need telling any of these things. But if you're new and you find yourself wanting to defend someone after a news story breaks, think about what you're letting stay in the fandom. Think about the kind of person you're willing to stand for who repeatedly keeps having these things come out about them. Normal people just don't face that. Normal people do not find themselves constantly surrounded by renewing stories of hate or abuse. Think about the people who've been hurt, who need you to defend them next time you choose to look away. Think about the kind of person that makes you when you stay silent in the face of hate and choose instead to play a game and forget it ever happened. That is why I am still here. Take care.